Hi everyone. I just tried to start my Feedback Friday with a software I've been using, but for some reason, no matter what I do, I have no sound. So I'm using the general Facebook Live app today, which means unfortunately I can't share my face with you and smile and have a chat, but I can still show you the art that we're going to get feedback on and help you make better decisions for your art. So if you're new to this community space, welcome to Artist Strong. It's a community dedicated to helping artists like you build your skill and develop your unique artist voice. This is called Feedback Friday. Every week in the fall and winter in the Northern Hemisphere, I use this time once a week to give artists feedback on their websites, on works in progress, or anything else they're struggling with as a creative. So all these artists have either emailed me or shared inside our private Facebook group called Becoming Artist Strong artwork and asked for feedback. And you can do this as well for as long as I am running this season of Feedback Friday. All you have to do is email me, Carrie@artiststrong.com, to share your links or art with me. So let's jump in. Dennis is a fractal artist and showed me this work. And basically was saying I was looking for feedback. He didn't give me any details about feedback. He didn't tell me whether this work is really finished or not. So I want to kind of emphasize to all of you that when you're seeking feedback from someone, they can offer you better information if they know what you're looking for. So if you're looking for other artists to give you feedback on your work, you could ask questions about composition. Is it finished? What would tweak it to make it finished? And another thing to consider is if you ask for feedback on a finished work, people are going to find things to tell you to change in that finished work. So sometimes that makes people feel a little triggered or a little uncomfortable about their finished artwork because they're thinking, well, I thought this was finished. I thought I did it all correctly. So understand where you're coming from emotionally when you ask your questions, and be prepared too, because it's totally fine to ask for feedback about your finished artworks, but understand then it's for future artworks and you're going to get feedback that are suggested changes to a work you've already decided is finished. So I'm going to switch over. I'm going to double check on my phone that you guys can actually see and hear me. So give me 1 second while I do that, and I'm going to switch over to my Photoshop so we can look more carefully at Dennis's work. So I might need to give you guys a minute because it looks like several of you are still on the other Feedback Friday. Oh, someone's watching. Okay. Actually see and hear me. Yep, great. So I know that there's sound. This is part of what we needed. So Dennis does something called fractal art. And so fractal art is actually really a kind of non-objective art form. Non-objective art has no kind of reference to objects from life. So some abstract art does. So you can have an abstract portrait, for example. But here, what we start to talk about as artists is that the color or your shape, so the elements or the principles of art become the topic of conversation. Principles can be things like balance, harmony, repetition. Those are all different kinds of principles of art. And then elements are what I just mentioned before, things like shape, line, texture. So you start talking about these, and if you talk about them as a whole, or you're trying to encompass both the elements and principles and have that as a focus in your art discussion, that means you're discussing something called formal art elements. So formal art decision making, that means you're looking at the techniques used, the application of the medium, and compositional choices, things like this. So it's not the same kind of conversation when perhaps there's conscious storytelling that you're trying to have in an artwork, and you want to make sure that's being conveyed. So just think about that for yourself when you're looking at work that's more non-objective or abstract. So I really love the colors in this. There's like a warm orange in here that I think is quite nice. I'm gonna get out my marker here. So all in here, We have some kind of nice, like, it's kind of golden reddish colors, maybe rust. All the colors are basically kind of variegations of each other, variations. It makes me think of variegated yarn, which is why I use that word. Something we can think about in terms of this is, by sticking to colors that are all of the same harmony, does anything stand out more or less? And is there some part of the composition he'd want to stand out more? Speaking of color, another thing I'd consider is value. And value is talking about our shading, so the amount of white or dark in an image. And I notice my eyes are very heavily drawn down here. So because there's some large black spaces in here, my eye keeps focusing down here and I have to force it to move through the rest of the image. So I wonder if some of these dark spaces could either be smaller, or if there could be a balance and maybe have kind of a heavier, darker space kind of in this top corner so that it creates some balance. I think that because of these dark areas, it kind of weighs the image down this way a little bit. And if it was on a scale, it'd feel heavier on this side of the image. Other things I might consider with this work, well, let's look at it in black and white. Okay, so when we look here, we do notice that most of the darkest spots are all in the lower half of the image, right? There's a lot more kind of dark areas down here, and we have kind of 2 or 3. You got some small ones here, but they're all very small at the top. So I do think that would be a consideration, is how could I shift this fractal a bit to kind of open up space in there to have some more black area, because I do kind of like this expanse of kind of empty feeling in contrast with the busyness of some of the shapes and movement that's created with these fractals. Let's see if we can go back to color. Another thing I'd consider looking at when looking at an abstract or non-objective work is, how does my eye move through the image when I view it? And so I already kind of mentioned that in terms of these black area shapes below, but there's some really nice shapes to help us move through the image. So if you notice, there's this kind of shell shape that moves around, almost like shell shape, Fibonacci series, or the golden mean, excuse me. And so that creates kind of a circular movement that moves our eyes through the work. What's nice too is you've got some lines here, and they kind of all make space for our eye to travel through it as well. If I'm not looking at the black area, I do feel like the object of focus is kind of right in here, and that everything's emanating from it. So I share this kind of reading of the work too, because that can be really helpful for someone making a work to understand where someone's eye is attracted to and where does it make them go when they're moving through a piece. This can be different for every single person. Hi, Kirsten, thanks for joining. But it's up to you how you use this information. Remember, again, feedback and critique is about you collecting information as an artist to find the solutions that best resonate with you as a creative. So I hope this gives you some food for thought, Dennis. Thank you so much for sharing your work with us, and I hope we see more. Okay. Close out with that one. And then we have Christine, who's looked for some feedback. So let's look here. Okay, so we also have her website. So she has a new website, Christine Girard. Let me, I need to get a new, oops, sorry. This is going to be a little blurry for a minute. I need to get her website up and going. I can't find it now. Oh, we'll get there. Christine Girard .format.com. We'll get that loaded. But we also look at this work. So she says that she has a new website she put on a few weeks ago, and her line of characters that are digitally drawn. And she says she can't seem to find a market, and she really loves this part of her art voice. She actually has 300 of them, and this is just an example. Hi, Carmen. So let's talk about finding a market. Something we need to think about is not only what format can we provide our art in that might appeal to people? Where might they enjoy seeing this? And sometimes our art might be better served on something like a journal cover versus a framed artwork on a wall. And that could be a starting point that leads people to want larger prints of a digital artwork, for example. But I really see this kind of work, Christine, personally, as something that'd be really nice as like note cards or little thank you cards. You could pair them with some kind of quote that you think resonates with the character you created. I think they have a playful feel. I could see them on the cover of like a deck of cards. Each character is kind of one of the kind of one of the, like a joker or a queen or a king. There's all kinds of different ways I think you could play with this. So it becomes about testing your idea. So how can you test where you could use this and see where people respond? So for example, you could set up a Redbubble account. Redbubble.com is something like Society6 or Zazzle, where you could upload high resolution images of your art that then can be placed on pillows, like leggings, as well as journals and canvases and things like this. So you could actually put this up on some journals and even order one for yourself to see the quality, see how you like it, and then use that physical example in social media to show people what it is and what it looks like, and then send them a link to that image and to that option to buy on Redbubble. And if people say yes, well then great. Then you know that putting it on print media could be a good way to go. And if you wanted to take it from Redbubble, you could then look for a local company that does printing or kind of work with some kind of local company, should that be your preference, to make products. So it's about finding places that you may not even initially think of and test. We often think that if we try to put something up and it doesn't sell, something's wrong with the work, but it might just mean we're in the wrong place for the work. So it'll be about listing out every single idea that you have, Christine, about what this market might look like, what kind of people might be drawn to your work, and then testing the waters in each of those groups of people to see who decides to bite and who decides to invest in work from these. I absolutely think there's a market for work of any kind. It's about finding those people, and that's hard. It takes time, and it is this constant experiment where you're testing hypotheses and you're getting new information to test different hypotheses to see which is going to work. So let's look real quickly at our website if I can find it. Let's go to digital art. Hi, Kimberly. Welcome. Okay. Okay. So, oh, that's nice. So her website actually has a sidebar that lets you scroll through to see the work, which I did not notice straight away. So something I might suggest to her, it took me a minute to even understand how it worked, was if she could put an arrow in the beginning and kind of direct us so that we know that we're looking right. So here's a bunch of her digital works. I can see so many different ideas for how these could work. You know, even something like this or this, I could see as a logo for some kind of business. So we need to really think outside of the box if we really feel passionate about something we're working on, and think about how can we apply it to different audiences and see where our community is and who might want it. This is so lovely. I love your use of color in these too, and some of the line marks are quite beautiful. I do like how clean the website is and how easy it is to scroll to look at work. It might be nice, I don't know. Oh, there is a little arrow when I move it up, but it was hard for me to see. So now you know. It'd be nice if you could click on a work though and learn more about it. So that's something else that a lot of artists seem to avoid, is putting added text about the work. But if we could click on this piece, for example, and hear the story and inspiration behind the work, that's going to help someone connect more with this particular image, and that might help them make the decision to invest in it. If you're using your website to sell work too, there's no way for someone to know that right here. It's unclear for me. And it looks like, actually, now I'm looking really carefully at the bottom, that there might be some titles in the bottom menu, but they're in white text, so it's hard to actually read them. So thinking about visibility and helping your viewer of your website know how to travel through the space is going to be important. If you want people to contact you about this work, it might be really wise in like the bottom left corner to have some kind of newsletter sign up to encourage people to join your news list. And you could say that's where people find out about the sale of these original and kind of reproduction images. So have some kind of incentive that says, encourages people to sign up to learn more about your work, or even have sales buttons and set your portfolio up more as a shop. Those are different things that Christine and all of you could be thinking about when you build a website, is kind of what's your intention and goal behind it, and how have you laid out the design in a way that supports your goal. Oh, I need to catch my breath. I have a little bit of a cold starting, so I'm a little clogged. So if you just don't mind me if I seem a little sniffly. Rena was so nice, and she actually gave us an update on her cloud. I cannot remember for the life of me where I put her first image, so I'll show you the before and after in another video. But she did say she wouldn't mind having an opinion on the recent progress she's made on this. So let's go back to Photoshop here, if I can get there. Let's find Rena. Here we go. So some things to think about. I love the color that's shown and kind of included in the clouds. I think it's especially nice in this back area. There's something so lovely about the kind of gradation of value here. You have some really nice dark shadows so that that back cloud feels behind, and then you have some beautiful colors that start to come out and peek through. I like the balance. She really did kind of increase the clouds on both sides. So even though the cloud is very central, we do feel this moving, and it's kind of like we've captured a movement through the space. The only thing now I kind of wonder about is the bottom third of her painting, is it feels so starkly different and empty compared to the top and how much is going on here. And I wonder if there's a way to bring a little more visual interest here to help us move up. Because I think what happens with my own eyes is I see this work and I kind of focus all up here, and then I look down and go, oh yeah, there's all this space down here. What's that about? So it'd be nice to think about, even if maybe there was a more emphasized kind of filled in mountain in the distance in this same tone, in this kind of darker purple, that was just a soft hill just on one side, then it has kind of a pointed triangle edge that brings your eyes upward and helps kind of change that space to be kind of stimulating to the eye. So remember, negative space is just as important as positive. This is some beautiful negative space in here. Do you see that? It's a really interesting shape, and it helps you move through the image. Negative space is the shapes that are, well, it's the shape that's created by the space between your object of focus. So everything I'm drawing here is negative space. What happens here is we have kind of this whole section down here where it kind of opens up and it becomes very geometric, when all of her other negative space is very organically shaped. Lots of curly lines and interesting space moving around. So I think that makes us stop over here a little bit. I think down here works really nicely. I don't have a problem with this corner. There's something in here that I wonder what we could do. And it looks like Carmen might have a comment. I want to move my menus here. Carmen says, I feel she could give some yellow light to the big front cloud. Just a thought. Yeah, I think that could be nice too. Kind of bring it forward a bit. It's important, right, that if this front cloud feels like it's underneath, right, that's kind of the bottom part of the cloud and it's dark, but yeah, that might be nice too, to have some yellow and kind of bring especially some of this area forward a bit. I think that's a nice idea. Or even just a little bit more kind of in these little ones. So that's some food for thought for you, Rena. I really love what you've done with this work. I love all the color that you've incorporated into it. And as I said, I think the negative space in this top bit with all of your cloud is quite nice. It really gives my eyes something to kind of move through and enjoy, so I don't just stay stuck on the cloud. And I really look forward to seeing how you finish this piece up. So thank you so much for sharing it with us. Okay. So what else we got here? Okay. Cynthia said that she's working on her drawing skills and she's trying out her Derwent water-soluble sketching pencils, and this is her attempt below. So I don't think I have, oh, I do. Good. I have her image here. So Cynthia is trying a new medium, and the only way we can really understand a new medium is to play with it and explore. And when we do that, sometimes our skill will actually go backwards a little bit, and that's completely normal for everyone. And so I want you all to give yourselves permission to not feel as competent or as good in a new medium as you might feel in something that you use every day. So for example, for me, I use embroidery and acrylic paint a lot. So it'd be kind of more normal for me to maybe feel nervous about a portrait in watercolor because I'm not as comfortable, or I don't use that medium as much for portrait work. So give yourselves permission to be where you are and have fun discovering a new medium. I think that's really important. I want to note in terms of some proportions for this figure that this shoulder seems really kind of big. And I think it's supposed to be like her shoulder is kind of angled forward and her chin's kind of almost looking over it a bit. But try to literally put your body in this pose. And I'm saying this to all of you watching right now. It's not like anyone can see you on the camera, right? I'm the one that has the video screen sharing going on. But try to move your shoulder to be in that posture and match the posture she has. Does that feel natural or comfortable? And do you think you can actually line that up, the shoulder up in that way? So an easy way to help yourself fix this is to look for a pose online of someone's body in that similar pose. You're not copying their face. You're not copying what they're wearing. You're only looking at them for their skeletal structure and the position of their body parts so that you have a point of reference to help you match. I do think that if this shoulder's this forward, this one would be kind of even more back. It'd almost be a little bit more like this. And this seems really wide for her. If you look, it's almost the same width as her head. So that suggests that her arm is very thick. So that's something else that Cynthia could be looking at. Excuse my sniffle. I really like her little bit of highlights in here with the hair. I really feel a sense of movement here. And I like the idea of trying to kind of meld into the sky or the background. I wonder for kind of later play or discovery how she could play with that, because she's got some really clear edges defined for the figure, and then it kind of all just blurs and disappears here. So I wonder how we could play with that a bit more and kind of have it feel really kind of refined and a conscious decision to kind of wrap out the piece. I know this was some play, so this is kind of food for thought for another work that she explores in this medium. What else would I suggest? It seems like her proportion or arrangement of features looks pretty accurate to me on her face. Something to think about with lips. I mean, it looks like she's wearing lipstick, so that does change how things are highlighted. And that could mean too lip liner is on her lip. I do see that there's a little bit of a highlight just above this lip liner, and that's accurate. There should be one there, but that's something to think about. Even with lipstick on, are our lights and darks matching the way light falls on our person? So that's something we can think about too. What else? Yeah, I think that's kind of the initial stuff that comes to mind for me. Thank you, Cynthia, again for sharing your work and being so generous with your art with this whole community so that we can all learn and grow. I've got one more person today. I don't know if I have time for him. I think he had quite a few questions. Yeah, I'm going to save him for next week. So Gregory, thank you for your work. He has a really good question, and I'll give you a sneak peek. I'm really interested to spend some more time with this piece. I think it's quite interesting and lovely, and yeah, there's so much story going on in this imagery, so I want to give it the time it deserves. So before we close out today, I want to remind you guys that you can ask to be part of a future Feedback Friday. And right now, as of this recording, Gregory's the only person I have for next Friday's Feedback Friday. So if you want to be part of a Feedback Friday, email me with your work and links to carrie@artiststrong.com, or you can message me on the Facebook page here at it's called facebook.com/becomingartiststrong, or inside our Facebook group. So feel free to use any of those. I want to finish up by announcing something that's timely. So if you're watching this today live, or you're going to be watching the replay sometime over the next few days after it's been released, I want to make sure you know about a scholarship opportunity that I'm having. So I have a program called The Circle. The Circle is a 6-month mastermind for artists. And if you don't know the word mastermind, it means that it's a community of artists who are like-minded, who are seeking to uplevel their work. And it could be, I'm ready to start really digging in to understand my voice and build a portfolio. Or it could be, I have a portfolio and I'm ready to share my voice more online, and I want to learn how to do that and how to start exhibiting my art more. Those are the kinds of things that we work on inside The Circle. I've had artists build their artist websites, get their first solo exhibition. I've had artists do kind of community service work with their art. All of these people are side by side, shoulder to shoulder, making their work and having people who get it, who are right there with them doing that too. And it's about unique individual goals that each artist has for themselves. I'll make sure the link to the program is attached to this video so you can take a peek if you're interested. I have a scholarship that's open, and I'm going to take 3 scholarship spots this year for anyone who enters this contest. So here are the rules. The first thing, you have to post on social media one of your artworks. And I don't want it to be in a private setting because you have to be able to tag me. So you have to have a public social media post bragging about one of your artworks. And in the description of that post, I want you to answer the question, how will joining the circle help you be your best artist self? And then, of course, if you want me to actually see this post, you need to tag me. So on Instagram, I'm at Artist Strong. The same for Twitter, and on Facebook, I'm Becoming Artist Strong. If you don't tag me, I won't see your entry and you won't have the chance to be part of this amazing community. I'll be announcing the winners via email on the morning of the 19th. So get your scholarship posts out there and take a chance. I can't tell you how amazing the scholarship students have been in the past and the wonderful strides they've made and the wonderful energy and enthusiasm they've brought to the group. And I can't wait for you to do that too. So show up. Last little bit here. I also have a special offer. If you register for the circle, so if you sign up and invest in the program in the next 48 hours, you're also going to get lifetime access to my new e-course that's going to be released early next year called How to Build Your Artist Website. It's a step-by-step tech instruction on setting up your own artist website using WordPress.org. But that means you have to sign up before Sunday the 18th at 8 a.m. if you want to benefit from that bonus. I am currently building that program. It's being built with the feedback of different patrons in the community who are patrons on Patreon. They get to beta test these programs. They're seeing the videos and helping me make sure it's the best thing ever. And you'll get some handholding because you have that how-to tech step by step, and you'll be inside the circle. So you'll have that added supportive community as you do something so important and valuable as building your own artist website. Carmen says, I'm very grateful for the scholarship I got last year. Carmen, you're so welcome. Thank you for being part of this community. I feel so lucky that I've had you and May and so many other wonderful people be part of the scholarship. Kathleen, there's so many of you. I can't tell you how important all of these people have been to the circle, and that could be you too. You can be a key integral part of this community if you decide to show up and be brave and post that artwork online and give yourself a shout out about why you can uplevel your art in 2019. So thank you guys so much for being here. And I really look forward to seeing you on the next Feedback Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your day.